Anwar, thank you
Yes.
so much for speaking with me. You created just a wonderful docu-series. I felt like I was transported from my living room right into
Oh,
these
thank you.
parks.
That's
So
very kind
thank
of
you.
you.
One of the things I really want to know, you're able to get up and close and really personal with these animals and the different species, and it tells such a beautiful story. Can you talk about the technology behind that?
Yeah, of course. I think we're living in a very special time for natural history filmmaking or wildlife filmmaking, in that we do have access to technology that allows us to get windows into unseen worlds, to get closer. And to give an example on this series in particular, there in our Big Bend National Park show, we're able for the first time to film Mexican long-nosed bats feeding on the agave plant, because it happens at night. And so only by using low light camera, which has no lighting whatsoever, just moonlight, we were able to quietly, successfully film this huge migration of bats, which is an event that happens maybe once or twice a year, and really bring to life that side of their lives, and also tell the story that's important to the national park, because without the bats feeding, there wouldn't be any agave plants, and without the agave plants, Big Bend National Park would be a very, very different landscape. So yeah, low light technology has transformed what we do. Drones has transformed what we do, because we get those amazing different views. And also a lot of it is the animal eye view, I think, on this series, and being able to get low with gimbals and track with certain animals. And yeah, we used pretty much every tool at our disposal to really try and make the parks come alive.
Originally I thought this was going to be about here's the parks, here's the land, but you really created a story that connects even humans to the animals and the plants. Can you talk about wanting to do that connectivity and to kind of broaden the story?
Yeah, I think that everyone involved in the project when it started, we're all aware of national parks. Some of them are so iconic, we all know they're special. And so we really wanted to go deeper, to look behind the curtain of what everyone might think Grand Canyon is about, and tell a new story that people might not be familiar with. So with Grand Canyon in particular, the fact that it's got the Kaibab forest, this incredibly lush, beautiful forest in the middle of the Grand Canyon, with these fantastic squirrels that live there. And I think it was important for us to find animal characters, animal stories that helped us tell the stories of the landscapes, because national parks often can become almost slightly victims of their own success. Everyone just gets to know them for one thing and one thing only. But the beauty of America's national parks is they are all so diverse, because they're huge. They've all got diverse landscapes, diverse weather systems, diverse animal species, and it was exciting to be able to unpack that. And I think the way that we included human stories was also to spread that message as well. Sometimes the human stories are included to show how some of us only visit national parks and see 1% of what the national park has to offer, whereas others, like rangers or scientists, get to see a lot more. So we really just wanted to give people an intimate view of each national park like they've never seen before.
Also included was different species that we don't really have enough information on. We really don't know. And what I wanted to know, what was that like? Because it wasn't like, did you discover, it wasn't like you discovered the species, but there's such little known facts about it. Was it important to include that into the overall story because of the information we don't know?
Are you thinking about an animal in particular, or just generally?
In general, because I
I
remember
think,
there was, sorry.
yeah, no, no, go ahead. You
No,
remember?
no, no. I remember there was a there I can't it's so hard for me to pronounce certain things, but there was like a specific species that it was orange, it was like a clown face, that we didn't fully understand yet. And then you had
Yeah.
like the plants that were growing from the Hawaii volcano.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I
wow.
see. Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, because Hawaii Volcanoes National Parks blew me away when I saw it, because it doesn't feel like our planet. and it's such an alien landscape with alien-like characters. And I think with that as an example, it was important to show how these places do exist, and even somewhere like Hawaii, which is accessible, and that's a great thing about America's national parks, is they are there for everyone. I think it was great that you could still show there are there are things on our planet in the United States that actually science knows very little about. We know very little about, and it's an important part of the national parks because again, we're all familiar with them, but they still have secrets, and there are still things that we don't know about within them. So they're still exciting, and there's a lot more to find out.
Wondering how long exactly did it take from the filming to post-production to get this all together? And has the parks changed due to climate change since then?
So generally, the project approximately has about 6 months or so pre-production, about a year to a year and a half production of filming, and then another year of editing. So it's 2.5, 3 years. It's a big commitment. I think over the course of, again, we were very lucky to be able to go to these parks such a long period of time. But yeah, over the course of a year to a year and a half filming, our teams did see, or did experience, the unpredictability of weather systems now, due to our changing climate. And so in the Big Bend National Park show, we were following one beaver. The team obviously got to know that beaver over a long period of time and watched them build their lodge and dam this river for months. And then a freak flash flood came out of nowhere and completely washed it all away, which is in the show. And that was a complete surprise. Those events do happen, but they're happening more regularly, and they're also happening at unusual times. And I think that we're seeing that more as an industry as well. So when we arrive in dry season to film, we'll get there and it'll be wet, or when we're in wet season, we'll get there and it'll be dry. So it does make filming more challenging, and it makes it more poignant to us, which is why we've included those stories in a lot of the stories in America's national parks.
Wondering, as the average citizen, what can we do to help preserve these parks?
I think there are things you can do. I think what we learn over the course of the series is how amazing it is they are protected, but also how they can't just be islands, like protected islands, how everything that happens outside of the park also impacts the park. So to take the Mexican long-nosed bats as an example, they have to migrate over thousands of miles. They need to come to the park, and the park needs them to survive. And so if anything happens to the habitat that the bats rely on their journey, then that threatens the park. And I think all we can do is look after our backyards, really look around, make sure that we're doing everything we can to help wildlife by making sure that we recycle where we can, by making sure that we look after the environment around